But you have the movie The Last Samurai glorify.
I think, yeah, I think, you know, I think that there's, like in everything, I mean, they say that Mussolini made the trains run on time. That's terrific, I'm sure. Well, under Adolf Hitler, you had the Volkswagen.
Yeah.
I mean, does that make him a terrific guy? I don't think so.
No.
And so, you know, there are some noble and wonderful things about the samurai culture, but we need to also focus on the danger that that kind of a culture represents. And I think both the Japanese and the whole world need to understand that, to make sure that no society is allowed to evolve that kind of a cult mentality. I mean, you have the same thing going on in Asia now, where they can walk into your house, these hooded people, and drag you out and slit your throat in front of a TV camera, and they feel they're doing God's work. You know.
So what can we as the public do to prevent that?
I don't know. Well, to prevent it, it's a much more complicated question. I think it certainly would help for all of us. I think very few people really understand anything at all about what led up to World War II. Everybody knows about Pearl Harbor. Everybody knows that in September of 1939, or a lot of people do, that Germany invaded Poland, and some people know about Kristallnacht and a little bit of what happened in the 36 and 37 in Germany. But absolutely nobody that I've talked to, very few people, 1%, 2% know about what happened between, say, 1925, when Mussolini came into power, and all the years when all these fascist and militarist regimes and what was going on in the Soviet Union simultaneously started amassing and concentrating all this power at the very top of their regimes. And I think the process of what brought Stalin to power, what brought Hitler to power, what brought the militarists to power in Japan, what brought Mao to power in China, all of that has to be understood so that we can spot incipient Maos and Stalins, and because they're going to take a different form. They're not going to be the same guy. History doesn't repeat itself exactly, but what happens is that humans never change. You can read love stories that go back centuries, and you read Shakespeare, and nothing has really changed since Shakespeare.
But you're going to have people say, okay, well, so I'll watch out for that, but what is it that I can do?
I think what we need to do more is to get our schools to focus more on teaching history, to getting our children educated. I saw a statistic once where something like 75% of all college graduates today have never had a course in American history. Now, how can you even understand your own country if you don't know American history? And I'm talking stripped of any, you know, politicization or politically correct thinking or any kind of thinking. Just lay out the facts. This happened in 17...
Or get people excited about history, because even if you've had it, how often are you going to remember the facts?
And without being too judgmental about the people, because if you go back to any of our races, any of our cultures, at some point in time we all did bad things.
Right.
And so, you know, there was the times. There was a day, you know, 2,000 years ago in Europe, and they used to feed people to the lions. And that was a fun thing, and everybody would go out like we would go to a circus or a football game today. Imagine the Rose Bowl, full of lions, and we would be throwing some kind of people out to feed the lions, and everybody would be applauding. And that's what people did.
Right.
And so they're our ancestors that did that. And what happened in Rwanda, and the barbarism, and the barbarism of Rwanda. I mean, it's not Africans it's just humans that are doing that. And humans need to learn more about their histories and about their past.
Speaking of which, I want to see that movie, Rwanda Hotel.
Yeah.
Just as an aside. I saw the trailer and I was like, you know, I don't think enough people know about that incident.
Absolutely.
And I think that's
those kind of stories need to be told over and over again, and the question has to be asked, how did this happen? And
is there any solid answer to that question, though?
No, but I think that I don't think there's any one answer, but I think understanding the problem, certainly in the case of Rwanda, it's a similar problem. All the power is concentrated at the top. For example, there was a cover of the New York Times Sunday magazine when the woman, I can't think of her name now, who is now being prosecuted for war crimes for what happened in Rwanda, and her title on the cover of the New York Times magazine was the Minister of Rape, because this woman, when she got to this power, instructed her soldiers that before they killed a Tutsi woman, they would first rape her, and only then would they be allowed to kill her. Now, this is a woman who was instructing soldiers to rape other women who just happened to be Tutsis or some other tribe.
Right.
And this happened. This is no different than what they did in the Philippines or what Hitler did. The same kind of mindset. So I think all of these stories, somewhere in there, there's a truth that needs to be explored further. And I think a lot of it has to do with this whole idea of allowing a centralized government to have so much power over life and death that they can ultimately evolve where a minister of rape or an Adolf Eichmann can just ship off millions of people into concentration camps as a final solution to a nasty problem, you know.
Well, what do you want people to know or learn besides learning more about their history or?
Well, I think that the important thing is that there's really, from my reading of history, I'm fascinated with history going back to ancient history, is that people never change. We're all the same, and I don't care what race you are or what culture you're from. At the core, we're all the same. There's nothing. The mother loves her daughter or her children just the same way, whatever kind of mother she is. And it's something biological and physiological. We're all the same. And it's these other external forces that transform us from humans into some kind of monsters.
But how do we, if we can't prevent it?
And I think it can be prevented. I think it can by a greater understanding of the circumstances. How could we have prevented a Rwanda, for example? I think that question has to be explored. I think it's being explored right now in the Sudan. People are all of a sudden intervening, uh-oh, something's happening here. Is this another Rwanda? We better get involved. And people are getting involved a little early. The question is, will they do enough to stop it? But because the thing in Sudan has been going on off and on for 20 years. They've been slaughtering people. They have slavery in the Sudan today.
Right.
And that's been going on for 20 to 30 years.
So it all begins with the mass public understanding?
Yeah, there has to be more understanding that this kind of barbarism that happened under Hitler, with not just the Jews, but anybody that Hitler found inferior, and carted off whether they were mentally retarded or whatever. That same kind of barbarism is what prevailed in Africa, in Rwanda, with the Tutsis, when they just decided, well, those are inferior people and they have to be eliminated. And if you see, I've seen a live videotape, and they did it with machetes for the most part.
Right.
And it's a pretty horrible thing.
Thank you for joining me, Luis. I appreciate it. Thanks for all the information too. Thanks for joining us today on Jessica. If you have any questions or comments about what we talked about today, you can email me in the email that will follow. And everyone, please get more involved in your history and get more excited about history. You can learn more about your country and other countries and about yourself from it. Thanks and have a good day. Thanks. God, you're just a wealth of knowledge. I kept